Captain's log, stardate 1513.1.
Star Trek launched in the middle of a terrifying nuclear arms race.
On board the Enterprise, Mr. Spock, temporarily in command.
Yet the show had a relentlessly optimistic message.
There is a tomorrow. It's not all going to be over with a big flash and a bomb. That the human race is improving. That we have things to be proud of as humans.
Viewers saw a diverse crew working together. An idea in the 60s that was at least as astonishing as the technology.
Television is supposed to be a vision of all the people. And I thought that was wonderful.
The original Star Trek, with Canadian William Shatner as Captain James T. Kirk, was canceled after just 3 seasons. But the show still resonated and remained so popular in reruns, it spawned movies and several spin-off series. The latest, now in production in Toronto.
Alien race.
All creating new generations of fans.
It's a long-standing cultural phenomenon that appeals not just to Americans, but to people all around the world.
Outpost 2 coming into sensor range, Captain.
The Starship Enterprise in 1966 was supposed to be setting off on a 5-year mission, an exploration of the universe and human nature that 5 decades later has no end in sight.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
With more on our Star Trek staying power, we're joined by our senior Star Trek analyst, the CBC's Havard Gould. Nice to see you. That's a great piece.
It was a ton of fun.
I bet you it was a lot of fun to put together. It's a juggernaut. It's a success. It's a success of business. It's a success of creative art. Was there any one thing that it did right that we can all learn from?
It got all our hopes and dreams into 1 hour with a great sense of adventure.
Yeah.
Who hasn't looked at the stars and said, what's up there?
Yeah, fair
they
enough.
took you there, and they took you there with great storytelling, great engagement. And look what they were up against in 1966. Bonanza, The Andy Griffith Show, Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies. You could probably sense that this, if it caught, and it didn't
And
at
it
first.
didn't. I mean, that's the remarkable thing, is that it was, I mean, 3 seasons is pretty okay, but it got canceled. It was a failure.
NBC didn't know what to do with this thing.
Yeah.
It is one of the very few shows ever made that had to have 2 pilots before they could get the green light. And then in the 3rd season, they didn't know what to do. They put it in death row. They gave it a lousy time slot and killed it, except it wouldn't die because the fans wouldn't let it.
And so was that its trick? Was that the thing that it created that bond that exists today in a way that is kind of incredible? The bond that program has. Sometimes, but no, I mean, that connection, when people make a connection to a program like that, or to art, or to a book, or a song, whatever it may be, it's inexorable. And they've been able to maintain that for decades.
That emotional resonance is really there. People were terribly involved, even when it came back. And Star Wars saved it. People forget this.
That's right.
Star Wars came out in the late 70s and was a tremendous success. So somebody must have said, geez, there must be money in space.
Yeah.
We better get Star Trek flying again. So they made a movie, and it was awful. And it didn't matter.
Wait.
The first Star Trek movie wasn't
that.
very good. I know, I've lined up in the snow to see it. And yes, I was disappointed, but I've lined up for all the others ever since.
There's been an interesting relationship between Star Trek and Star Wars, one-upping on one another. You actually researched this. Who did better? Who's done better over the years?
You and I are now skating on some very thin
I don't
ice.
want the
Because there are a lot
internet's
of
going to
people
yell at us.
who
You know
like
that,
one,
right?
who feel that if you like one, you have to hate the other. But Star Wars...
I like them both.
I like them both.
Peace in our time.
Peace in our time. Let's not do phasers versus lightsabers. But Star Wars apparently makes a lot more money than Star Trek, but don't feel sorry for either franchise.
They're doing pretty good.
Yeah, but it's hard for anyone to put it all together.
Because there's so much to it,
so
is
much
that it?
stuff, so many movies, so many shows, so much stuff. I don't personally have a copy of the Klingon dictionary, but
it sells.
I'm sure it did, and I'm sure it made a lot of money too. And I tripped over a lightsaber in my kitchen last night too. Just
of course you did. And I mean, it still goes. When you see, there will be sci-fi movies this week at TIFF. that owe their legacy to that sort of, franchise in its beginnings, that it changed sci-fi, and it's continuing now. They're filming the new one here in Toronto, you said in your piece.
The new series, and there's a new movie coming as well. And the thing about Star Trek is it's a shapeshifter. You can always get a new ship and a new captain, a new storyline, and they jump around in time and they make it work almost every time, but they never lose that connection with their fans. The fans won't let it die. It took a while to get going. It can't be stopped.
It must have been a lot of fun putting this together. I mean, the tape alone was a lot of fun to watch putting this.
The edit suite was crowded. Everybody wanted to have a look. Everybody had an opinion. I seem to remember several years of my university life being wasted watching reruns that I'd seen before when I should have been writing an essay.
Imagine that. Nice to see you, Havard. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.